Hi everyone, thanks for watching. You can support our work on our website ageoftruth.tv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, BitChute and Brighteon. And remember to hit the bell for notifications. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook. To be sure not to miss any of our shows, you can sign up for our newsletter on our website ageoftruth.tv.
Floating in. Hello, Isha.
How are
Can you
you?
hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are
Oh,
you?
amazing. I'm great, thank you. I'm gonna put this in as well, so I can hear you in stereo.
Oh, I know. I'm so happy to see you. By the way, you have a beautiful background.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, with all the statues up here and very
Yes.
colorful, yes.
What is that you have next to you? Like the one that has this yes.
This
that
one,
Yes.
I have to turn my head. Actually, Lucas can tell you, because this is his statues.
Oh.
I'll put him on and see if I can get the video
Okay.
on for the studio.
Hi, Isha.
Hi there. How are you?
Hi, how are
Nice to
you?
see you
Nice to
too.
see you. Wow,
Wow,
here we
it's
are
like
finally.
it feels like has a lot of time has gone by ever since we last saw each other, but also it feels like we had recently seen, or like it feels so familiar, so like yeah.
Absolutely. We totally feel the same. It's amazing.
It definitely does. I was asking Lauge about the statues that you have. I can see that they are Buddhas, but the one that is on his, it would be left side.
Yes, they're all Buddhas, and they're over 130 years old, and they're from my great-grandfather, who worked in Asia, in Siam, which was the original name for Thailand in the old days, and he also worked in Shanghai during a time when he was like a colonial. He was working for a big shipping firm in Denmark, had a big position there, but he was working there before the First World War. And before marrying my great-grandmother.
They're so powerful. They have like they're alive. They're definitely alive.
So we have about a 1.5 hour for the show for
Okay.
now. So we're definitely gonna do a part 2, I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's gotta
sure.
go quick.
I'm more than happy. I'm more than up for it.
This is just the beginning, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Age of Truth TV. I'm Lucas Alexander in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's 8/8/25, the day of the Lionsgate portal activation, and we have a very special guest for you on the show today. She's an author, a cosmic experiencer, a unity consciousness ambassador with the core mission to activate primordial codes and to restore humanity's original blueprint and to activate plasma body technology. She is a researcher of secret ancient civilizations and ancient artifacts with ties to the extraterrestrial presence on planet Earth. Isha. Good evening from Copenhagen, Denmark, and welcome to our viewers on Age of Truth TV. Please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We have a really special and wonderful guest for you today, a very beautiful and fascinating lady with a lot of interesting and incredible information. And this is a very special day. It's 8/8/25, the day of the Lionsgate portal activation, and we are here together to uncover a lot of her truth and maybe the truth of the universe and a lot of keys to the universe. So we go to somewhere very close to Mexico City in Mexico, and we welcome on the show Isha. Isha, thank you so much and welcome on Age of Truth TV.
Well, thank you, Lucas and Lauke. It's a pleasure for me to be with you. I am more than excited. As you know, we have a beautiful opportunity to have a reencounter, a soul reencounter at the Full Disclosure Now conference this last July. And I honor what you do, the remarkable path that you have. So I'm more than honored to be here.
Thank you, and we're so honored to have you here. And it's so fascinating because this is a personal thing, but I would like to include it in the show actually also for our viewers because you gave me a little shell when we were on the beach. And after, I think the day after, I couldn't find it. And I was looking for it, and I thought, whoa, what happened to this little shell? So last night, when I went to this very special exhibition about mysterious things and mystics and ancient scriptures and ghosts and what have you, I put my hand down my pocket and what did I find? That particular shell that you gave to me the other day as a token of well, something very special, and you can mention that too. So I just thought, wow, that's amazing. The day before, I'm going to be with Isha again. So this is just something I wanted to tell you because I thought that was so fascinating.
So synchronistic. And well, just that the audience know that what that shell at that moment, because it can represent many things, as we know. But when I picked it up from the sand, it was night, it was the night, and I was walking by the beach. So I saw it and I saw it was perfect, like intact. Normally you get, like pieces, just small pieces of shell or, but this was, we could say like the original type of shell that you will find and that people use as a representation of a shell. So I picked it up and immediately I said, you came into my mind. And then I said, oh, okay, so this is for Lucas. And we were by the fire, and the shell is a very sacred symbol for the feminine, for that which holds the treasure. And it was this message for you coming from the currents of abundance, of bliss, of joy, of the most sublime and powerful element that actually brings us to our origin, which is the water, So the capability of you connecting the purity of your feminine energy, receiving it into its full and purest state in order to actually reach a new stage in your life in relation to that feminine energy within you, which I must say that you have it in a such in a very delightful way. You already have it within you, yet it comes to something that you are now about to integrate, a new stage in your life.
But the fascinating thing is that when we connect both of those sides of our personalities and unite them and integrate them and acknowledge them, then we become full, the full package, so to speak, right? And that's what we should strive to become in the best possible way. And I think you know that as well.
Yes, definitely. While you're saying that, it brings me to the famous twin flame, that a lot of people is immediately looking something outside. And it's very important for us to have that communion within our own feminine and our own masculine, I always ask myself, okay, how is my feminine energy feeling towards my masculine right now? Does it feels secure? Does it feels supported, encouraged, and so forth? And actually, you do receive a very precise answer. And the other way around, how does my masculine energy feels now in relation to my feminine? And you sometimes will feel like the masculine is like, like it would happen outside in a relationship. So it is sublime to see that, like from the outside as an observer, how your two primordial forces are correlating to one another and how to actually bring that wholeness that you were talking about within and then without, of course.
Absolutely. That's so true. Definitely. I mean, we have so much to get into here, and that has a lot to do with personality, but also how we connect all of this energy. You talk about DNA, you talk about the primordial human original form, and you talk about plasma, body technology, activation. And those are really big words, and we want to really get into this. But before we do so, please tell the audience a little bit about your background, your life story, and what brought you on this scene and made you enter this spiritual, esoteric, and truth seeking realm.
My pleasure, Lucas. Well, from the very beginning, when I was a little girl, I would be aware of the different beings that construct this reality, and that those beings were not forcefully physical beings that would be constantly as the humans, all the time as in an evident form. They would come and go, make themselves appear or not. And that level of interaction and actually getting to communicate with them allowed me to remember more things from the very beginning. For instance, ever since I was like 6 years old, 7 years old, I would come to my family, which is like a very Catholic, very into the story of creation according what the Bible says, and also into the mainstream media, scientific community. So where does human come from? Okay, so the as an hominid, comes from the primates. So, and I was like, they will never find the missing link. And my mom would say, why? Because the missing link is Adam. Like he was the one that was built. So he's the missing link. That's why they will never find it. And she would look at me, but not even, like fully understanding what I was saying. So as my childhood continued, I started to face like overwhelming situations in a very human form. So then I started to first expandedly, like having very positive interactions with the galactic community and so forth. And, like bridging all that knowledge into this reality. Yet then I started to have this overwhelming human experiences. So I started to go into an isolation process. And throughout that isolation process, like focusing only in my studies and, like very framed in my mind, trying not to, to put everything together, what I was perceiving and so forth, and what I was experiencing in human terms, that then a beautiful woman, a Hindu woman, while I was in Spain at 12 years old, came, like the elevator opened, she came to me and she touched my third eye with such love, and she told me telepathically everything is going to be fine. So then after that, I stopped seeing through from my third eye for a while. And so I started a huge process of immersion in what is normally known as the 3D, all this mundane reality. And at some point, when I got really tired, like saying, okay, this is not it. I know there is more. So then I started to reconnect with the meditation. But I'm telling you, like I'm summarizing, of course, but it was a process of really going through the whole spectrum of light, like through the darkest shadow all the way to the highest light, through that process from a mundane perception. So then when I said, okay, this is not working out, like this relation is not working out. So then I started speaking in other languages. And my family would look at me like, okay, what's going on? So then went into a retreat, meditation retreat. And then I started finding people that spoke a similar language than I did. Not like the foreign language that I was speaking at that time. I'm talking about heart language, a spiritual soul language. And so then I started to reconnect all the dots. I knew that I was going to get pregnant at the age of 30, and I did. And I had my daughter, Sufi. And after that, I went through a huge process of rebirth. And then I remembered. And then I remembered why that beautiful angel that shows Hindu nationality in this lifetime came at me, because I have something with Hindu angels. They come to me a lot in very precise moments to let me know that something huge is going to happen. So then I understood why she did that, and it was as an act of love. So, because as you know, I translate codes. Well, I translate codes. So these codes, well, these are different languages, but codes are not just symbols. Codes are not just drawings. Codes is pure information. It's like in the computer. Every time that you want to give a command, you put some codes, and a group of codes will create a program, an image, and so forth. So in order to sustain all the information that I was translating from the hyperspace, from the galactic community, from the quantum field, and so forth, I needed to sustain that amount of density in the matter to be capable to stay in access, to have all this information through codes and not losing it. So that can translate to, when you master your shadow, that density, then you can actually master all the information that comes from the codes, not because they are bad or they are shadow. It's because, I don't know if you have ever seen, the Metatron's cube. It's a geometrical form. So if you take a cube made of sticks, like you put some sticks and then you project light into that cubic structure, the shadow is the Metatron's cube. So that is what geometry is the light reflecting the matter and then being translated into this canvas, into this holographic canvas. So once I got it, I started remembering my memories in Egypt and in other ancient civilization, Mayan, Japanese, Celtic, Druid, galactic, terrestrial, and so forth. And remembering most of the information that I have being related to as a soul, genetically speaking, which is what we were talking about. Genetically speaking, as in terms of plasma, which is like this quantum physics, the quantum mechanics, because for us, science and spirituality are not apart. They are one, just spoken in different terms. So when we embody that awareness, then we become unified more than what you would could believe. You know what logic could tell you.
Yes, exactly. And we also want you to explain more about some of the topics and the fields that you go into also in order for the viewer to truly understand what those that description of the different things what that actually is, like plasma, mitochondria, black goo, the quantum, and all of that. And we want to get into that. But also, but just on a more personal level, as you were explaining your origin, you are from Mexico, but you're also Egyptian, right?
Well, my soul definitely has so vivid my Egyptian codes. It's like in Mexico, there is a saying that it's mainly like no one can deny the mount where he or she comes from. You know, it's like you have it printed in your forehead or whatever. But yet, in this lifetime, biologically speaking, and firsthand, I was born in Mexico, and my mom has Lebanese roots, so that's where some people get, like
So maybe
the
that's
Arab.
why you look Egyptian. And like you, I also feel Egyptian, and I also feel that I've lived several lifetimes there. So I think we know each other definitely also from
Definitely.
Egypt.
We need to go and hang out together in Egypt, and that will be.
Absolutely, we have to. Definitely, we got to go there because we probably know where to go and where we, have been. I've been there before, and I knew exactly how to get to certain places, and I felt totally at home. So it's been a journey, also a journey of an inner standing, not just an understanding of past experiences. Every time I've been there.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you that the 4 years that I that have lived there so far, it was, like truly seeing what the simulation is, what the hologram is, besides all the integrations of the soul parts that we go through. Like as you were saying, you know where to go, you touch a temple or you smell the temple, and then zoom, it's like you feel at home. And the guardians come and talk to you like, hey, why it took you so long to be here? Or welcome, you're finally here. And yeah, it's a soul recognition at so many levels, you know. I do feel that Egyptian codes related to Septepi, like Atlantis and so forth, are so strong that it's like you transmit it. It's you cannot deny it. It's there.
Definitely. And you decided to live in Egypt actually for 4 years. Was that difficult for let's say, a liberated woman?
That's an interesting question. Well, I received one day that I needed to go to Egypt. At that moment, I was not working. I was going through a new stage of independence with my daughter, and then yet I received a message. And when your soul, your higher self communicates, is like, I don't know, I think we do speak the same language, it's like you just go for it. And that's what I did. I just went for it. It first came as me guiding tours, like taking people there. And then by the second group, I was like, hey, I'm going to come and live here. So then I did. And I was there during the pandemic, the situation, and so for the pandemic. So I was there. I stayed there for around 10 months, came back to Mexico to get my daughter, and then went back for a whole year. And then my daughter evolved so fastly that she told mom, I have to be a kid. I want to live in Mexico. So then I brought her back and I went back to Egypt. And I can tell you that I went through so many upgrades biologically speaking when I was living there that I I can definitely tell you that my body is not the same. It's not the same. This is why I share all this information because I started to remember how to upgrade your body in a very needed way. And then I did it. I applied it to myself, of course. And then, and also throughout many talks and communication with the galactic community, I will just simplify this. I was living in front of the pyramid at some stage, like literally the Grand Pyramid. It was in my backyard. Then I was living in front of the Sphinx, first in front of the Sphinx, then in front of the Great Pyramid, and then I moved to Luxor in front of the Valley of the Kings and Queens. That mountain was my backyard. And you know that that is a huge epicenter for stargates.
I
So
know those two places are some of my favorite places. I know them very well.
we could have perfect living neighbors, and start hanging out since there. But anyway, uh,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and so I would go to the desert and go to physical stargates, to very specific places that, there would be what the Bedouins call genies. They have a very interesting way of how to protect the field. And they would take me to caves. They would take me. So by night, I would have all that communication with these beings, the ones that are in inner earth. I have pictures of them. Well, not pictures, drawings of them. I have pictures of myself where my body is literally a hologram. And you can just see, or other pictures where my body is showing a transfiguration, where I just have three fingers and my head is an elongated skull. I have pictures of myself, like with huge deformations in my face, like elongation, like this. Yeah.
Are you talking about real photographs?
No, real photographs. I have shown this in other in other shows actually because it's so evident. Like there is one like my body is literally gone, and you can see my clothes. That's the only thing that you can see, and my body, like the clothes are expanded like this. That I have a thin complexion. Well, the clothes are expanding like that, and next to me I have a friend of mine, a dear brother of mine, and he looks perfect.
So
So
it's
it's
not like a
like
malfunction in the camera. It's not like a
exactly,
bad shadow
exactly,
or light or something that was kind of taken in the wrong way or whatever.
exactly, because his body looks perfect. He's there, and I'm not. And we are actually in one of the most powerful points in Philae, the island of Isis, in the back part where the original gate of the temple is. So there is a massive portal there. Yes.
Did you feel did you feel happy there? I'd like to, before we go into really in depth about all the other amazing stuff, mind-blowing stuff that you talk about. I mean, how would you define the sensation of happiness? What is actually true happiness, and can that even be achieved in this three-dimensional physical realm based on dualism and good versus evil? And these experiences that we have here that are not necessarily just all sweetness and light and bliss.
Well, thank you for asking that amazing question. I do believe in happiness. I experience it. For me, happiness is coherence, therefore harmony. So coherence, what would be when you're in the right place with the right people at the right time and doing the right thing. And by right, I mean what organically comes through you. Like that effortless way of just existing, you know. However, I'm not saying this as, yeah, just fold your arms crossed and then, you're being yourself. No, I'm actually talking about that pure transmission where you feel that organic flow in between you, the place where you are, the people, like what we experienced there in the conference, you know? And that's the thing about when we connect that spirituality with the quantum field, because that's the ultimate state that we are like. If you look at Buddha, at the monks, their deep stages of meditation, they are in full state of coherence. And I'm talking about an energetic coherence. Now, if we take this at a spiritual level, or even at a cognitive level, as like the alignment in between what you think, what you say, what you feel, and how you act. As long as we are constantly generating that coherence, perhaps in the beginning it won't be pleasant because all the ideas, what we have been taught, that we need to fulfill outer expectations instead of ours, and then we think that those outer expectations are ours, then all that process of undressing though and taking off those veils, then you will start to actually enjoy your truth, the true truth, not the one that you at some points, or that we at some point thinks that was the truth. And so yeah, that happiness. And then it's not that life is going to come perfectly, like as how they have also programmed us, and therefore generated a lot of frustration because things are not as happy ever after as they taught us. And the thing is that our perception is the key. And all the ancient teachings talk about this. And our perception is the key. Yet it not only comes to the perception, because sometimes the perception can only be just, okay, trying to train you to think that everything is okay. So then you will stay here. But if you lower the energy all the way to your heart, then you will actually feel it and believe it and saying, okay, so I see the brightness in everything, regardless, because when you see the brightness in everything, regardless, you're finding the divine purpose of it. And purpose is mission, and mission is fulfillment. Well, leads to fulfillment, accomplishment. So then, then we're capable not just to, go through those programmings, like think this way, because then we're just doing the same that where we came from, just with other beliefs. And that's where we came from the era, from the belief era. Now we're actually in the embodiment era. So embodiment is like you need forcefully the heart, and something clicks that actually makes you even feel passionate about your perception of brightness in everything. And it is a practice, of course.
So certainly happiness is when you meet somebody and there's a soul recognition and things flow and it's easy, like what we did when we met, and it's very special, and it's that moment where you think, yeah, no matter what we talk about, we don't really have to talk. And that was that sensational moment of recognizing something that was beyond talking.
Exactly. Yeah, you can see my smile ear to ear, you know? Yeah, definitely.
Exactly, it's wonderful. So happiness can be achieved in different ways, but of course, this world is like dualism, good and evil, and we experience this to experience that. In order to understand good, they say we must see the bad stuff as well, and that's not always very comfortable, and it's not very convenient, definitely. But like, okay, so extraterrestrials, are they present on planet Earth? Are we Homo sapiens sapiens? Are we their experiment? Or are we an evolutionary, God created species? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would love to answer that with an example that actually bridges to the last topic that we were talking about, which is us being in a polarity paradigm without accessing or embodying the center point, which is that singularity, you know, and because that's unity consciousness. So, one of the how I experience it and how I remember it is that one of the keys that we need to unfold and use and become is unity consciousness, because unity consciousness is actually the vibration that we require to move forward into a new dimension or into another dimension. If we stay in polarity, we are staying in what a lot of people call the 3D. Why? Because, for instance, if you have a bathtub and you fill it with water, and then you remove the cork, and then the water will, of course, start to create a spiral, a vortex, and then going into the drain. So the water that it's closest to the drain will be harmonically spinning. The water that is farther from the drain will go into waves collapsing to one another until they reach that breach that will lead them to coherence. So, most people, or how this reality was configured through amnesia to not remember our origin, it doesn't only go biologically speaking, it is all interconnected. I mean, at a genetic level. But for instance, if someone stays in that external perimeter of the bathtub, will keep on the wave motion collapsing to all those other waves, and then won't be able to just flow to reach that coherence. Emotional body leads to attachments leads to the perpetuation of realities, and that's where we are coming, like we're from, in order to move forward. So now, is this something that we are just programmed by the reality, by other ET groups that were the ones that created us, or are now the ones that are taking over this reality, or had taken over? Well, for me, and based on my research, everything goes like, if the fundamentals of the universe are very simple. As Nikola Tesla would say, energy, frequency, and vibration. So the more that you unravel the layers from macro to micro, you will see that it's the same formula. So yes, there are a lot of locks in terms of frequency that very specific ET groups anchored into this reality, so that I choose to see it this way, so that we could prove to ourselves that we are ready to move to the next dimension. So it's moving from the victim state to the sovereign state, because only we can prove that we are able to embody a higher frequency. And that higher frequency, as I was saying, requires unity consciousness. If there are frequencies that were anchored to try to diminish or to interrupt our DNA upgrade, if there are frequencies that translate into advertising, media, politics, all those institutional groups that at some point are directed and led by other groups, not human, non-human, it's our responsibility to prove to ourselves that we can and have embodied the correct frequency to actually go beyond that, because we are so powerful that we can do that. Like, well, we could do it like that this is where abracadabra comes from. But you know what it's like, for instance, this when we come into groups like in conferences, we rise so much the vibration that we are actually shifting many timelines, many timelines. So if we remember, more than learning, because for me learning is an external process, remembering is an inner process. So if we remember how important it is to physically come together, then all of this is a test.
A test created by certain ET groups that wants to hijack our energy and feed on our angst, fear, and anxiety, like archons or reptilians or some of these species, some extraterrestrial, some interdimensional, and working through our governments and the secret Illuminati circles and all of that we've been talking about a lot on the show. Or is it, I mean, if we are God created or source created or universal power, whatever word you want to put on that, not to put it in biblical terms, but just that universal power, if we are created by that, why are we not using our full potential? Why are we not fully baked, so to speak? Why don't we remember who we are? Why aren't we able to activate and use our full potential, as supposedly maybe we were able to in ancient Egypt or Atlantis or some of those places? So does that mean that our pineal gland has been calcified, or and our energy levels have been lowered and we've been put under this amnesic state or something? And is that done on purpose by these alien or ET beings, or what?
Well, definitely we were genetically modified, not once, many times. Many founders, seeders came to planet Earth even before what we know as the Anunnaki, and they were already doing hybrids of animals, their own race, just, like recollecting from other genetics in order to create these other forms of life, and such as it happened with the human. Now, the human was for other purposes. Nevertheless, without generalizing, there are within the same groups others that participated into this genetic manipulation, however, with other purposes, which was the evolution of a race, because I can tell you that human race is one of the most powerful races when it reaches its full potential. So whether if it was it really that like a negative manipulation, I couldn't say that. It depends on us whether if we empower ourselves onto the extent that we actually believe in ourselves, that self-belief, which is not an outer belief, again, in a divine force that resides isolated from us, yet within. And I'm not saying, you mentioned the archons and so forth, I'm not talking about that egotistic belief that you are the god and you can do whatever you want. No, I'm talking about that unified consciousness that comes mostly from a seventh density, ninth density, that actually we comprehend that we are a unicity within a unity, that as long as we all work together, then we create life and we create resonance and negentropy. Otherwise, we are creating entropy, which is chaos. We could look at it as asymmetry or chaos, or, it's not the same thing, but you could relate it to that. Now, about the forces that you were talking about, and for instance, the pineal gland and so forth, yes, of course, there have been campaigns to diminish the potential not only of our pineal gland, yet also of our mitochondria, of our whole biology, in many forms. So you have the positive aspects and the negative aspects. For instance, for media, you get the blue light. The blue light is actually damaging a lot your mitochondria. So there is a lot of people growing this layer in their eyes as cataracts, because their eyes is in a protective mode, in a survival mode, is protecting itself and creating a layer, people that are a lot of time in the computer, so, but on the other hand, due to these aspects, is that we can connect. Now, because this can be, like, for instance, so extensive. Now, in relation to the, like, if I just told you, because I will be talking about this in my presentation in Dallas, in the Bridge Expo. Huge, small advertising about the conference, and I can mention it later. Yeah, join us in the Dallas the Bridge Expo conference in Dallas in October. It will be amazing. We will be talking about spirituality and science unified, so unifying them. So anyway, throughout my research, I have come to, have you heard about the Rh negative and Rh positive as blood, not the blood types, but like the main two?
Yes, of course, and the negative O blood type is supposedly the one that are mostly linked to an extraterrestrial force.
Exactly. Well, the Rh actually comes from the monkey, from the rhesus monkey. So if you don't have it, then you don't carry the anti-gene. That's mainly what the Rh is an anti-gene. What does that mean? It continuously creates, influences the immunity system. So people which is most of humanity, that are positive, if I explain to you like how only humans have the anti-gene, only humans, and it is hydrophobic, which means that the center doesn't like the water, and water is the main conduit in which, through protons, we connect through the quantum field. So I'm not saying that the anti-gene is malefic, and I'm just saying that I can even see an upgrade of DNA coming from the ones that are already negative or weak the anti-gene, which is that the anti-gene is very weak, so their immunologic system is way higher as the ones that are negative. The ones that are positive, they can get sick easily. The levels of their pH, actually, if we rise our pH, which is the ionization of the water, mainly bringing more hydrogen into our water, into our water structure, then our pH rises, and then we actually create more coherent bonds. We can actually, the plasma in our body, it nourishes, goes higher into a fourth state, which is the ultimate state of water, which is the highest coherent form of communication of the water to the quantum field. So then our mitochondria also are expanding into its full potential, and then though that the anti-gene takes another place because it can even go into a dormant state. And then we have also other ways to rise our immunologic system, like the thymus, and the thymus is highly important and barely no one talks about it. It's directly connected to the pineal gland.
So we are about 85% water, right? And 70% water in the brain or something like that. So everything connects to water, and also how we talk to water. We know about that famous experiment where you talk to water, you say you love it or you hate it, that glass, or you're indifferent or ignore that glass, and you see how the water changes in structure and how it's beautiful crystals or horrific, ugly crystals, or it just fades away. So the same thing happens when you speak to another person, or if you speak bad of yourself, or you're angry or something like that, it will affect your body, right? And also you talk a lot about plasma and mitochondria, and you also talk about something called black goo, which we talked about also on this channel a lot, the blood of the earth. But I think just to specify some of that and some of the stuff you're getting into now, please tell the audience, just, tell them what plasma is, tell them what mitochondria is, just in primitive terms, maybe, just in order for those people who don't know too much about it.
Sure. Plasma is known as the fourth state of matter. And so it's normally related to fire. When you have the combustion and then you reach, like that flame, summarizing it, a lot of people relate it to fire and also to electric discharges. Like, for instance, the sun, the rays that are coming from the sun are also considered plasma and so forth. Now, the huge development that the scientific community has been open to do remarkable research from quantum physicists, as my dear friend Nassim Haramein and others, like pioneers, like the very same Planck, then have been coming into like that acknowledgement that even the space that is between us, it's composed by plasma in another state, or let's say in another energy density.
In another form, in a way. I mean, because they do say that 99.9% of all matter in the universe is plasma. And it's linked to it's gas and ionization, lots of stuff like that. But I mean, so you also say that what is not matter is also is plasma in another form.
Exactly. And what is not is, like, in Planck, the let's say the scientific term, it's Planck unit, plasma, or Planck plasma. Planck unit is the fundamental. It's like you can go atoms, you can go subatoms, quarks, subquarks, and so forth. The Planck unit is the fundamental unit that in which we relate right now in quantum physics. So that has a very specific energy density. We can call it as the range of the scale of energy that it has. So we can differentiate between the plasma that is commonly related to the fourth state of matter to the Planck plasma. The difference is the energy range that resides within them. So from that, in between matter and space, 99.99999% and so percent of the universe is space. So 0.00000 and so forth is matter. And from that matter, 99.99999% is plasma again. And the 0.00001 and so forth is called plasma. So everything is plasma at different proportions. This is why plasma could be esoterically related to ether.
So it's related to ether. That's very interesting also for people to and also to research this because it's a huge topic. And we also know that nothing is solid, right? We are very possibly in this holographic, illusionary, three-dimensional world, and then all of the other dimensions above and beyond and below that. But I mean, nothing is solid because atoms have no solidity.
Yes, actually, that's the breakthrough of quantum physics or quantum mechanics. And this is the highly spiritual thing about it. Because when we talk about the spirituality, we say, okay, we're connected to source. You can name it however you want, as you were saying, God, Allah, Yahweh, bam, 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 bam. The thing is that how do we connect to that source? Physically, not as we relate in terms of, matter. Yet, quantumly, we do. We are routed, we are entangled as a network, as our very same neurons. We are a huge neural network of beings that are connected to one source. So now, when it comes to how to define, for instance, bringing in that aspect of ether and plasma, as we were saying, the importance of connecting it, is that plasma that is connecting us. Our light body is plasma. The monks that activate their rainbow body is due to the enhancement of their plasma, their levels of plasma. Because every time that we're creating energy, we're creating plasma, we're creating 0 point energy. Every time that we're bringing our body into full harmonics and coherence, biochemically speaking, we are enhancing our levels of plasma. So now that plasma can actually come into a field, localized field, like creating spheres, and then projecting them. Also, the psionics can be achievable due to the manipulation of the plasma, that space, because you are connecting to that network, and therefore you're expanding your information, your memory, consciously or from a state of awareness, and then acknowledging no difference in between you and the object that you are bringing to you, that you're manipulating, that you're moving, or if you're moving back and forward in time, also you need to master, whether if it's consciously or unconsciously, your plasma body.
You cannot really see it in a microscope. Let's see, like you can see something else. It's energy, right? It's ether. It's something that the science are connecting it to basically everything that is matter and connects matter, right?
Yeah, and that's actually, I think, when we are limited into linear reality without, moving into spiral, because you can feel plasma. Sometimes what happens to me is that I get to see it, because that's when multidimensionality comes through, because you are open up now to see reality at a different level. So then I see particles of light suspended there, and then I start to interact with them. For instance, when you stare a lot of time to the sun as much as you can, and then you close your eyes, you will see patterns of light. That is plasma, is encoded plasma. Where you take a picture and you will see all these geometries coming from the sun, that is plasma, So Now, the plasma in that space, that would also be invisible, to us from the normal to the normal eye. So they are already interacting at different energy densities and creating this music. So another way of connecting with plasma is also through the voice, through the frequency of the voice. That's also actually super harmonizing. This is very ancient tech and fundamental, crucial for for instance, as you know, you go into temples, ancient temples, and immediately your molecular structure of water starts to evolve in response to the information in the temple. And if you talk, someone with such a beautiful voice as you are creating a voice and a feedback that it's going to be expanding actually and upgrading even more. I recall like when the times that I have been into the pyramid, any of the pyramids, and even temples, but mainly pyramids. If there is people that go that don't have like a good tone, as we could consider, like even the same person says, I'm not a good singer, and goes to the pyramid and starts chanting, and their voice is or like the tones are ordered in a melodical form. It's like the very same atmosphere that is being created by the space due to the geometry, due to the measurement, due to the harmonics, due to the light, blah blah blah, and so forth. It's creating that the waves harmonize because the very same molecular structure of the person there is being harmonized. So it's just a reflection.
That's very fascinating. And it's also connected to what we talked about, mitochondria. And that's also very related to energy, right?
Yes.
How would you describe or tell the audience in a few words what mitochondria really is?
Well, mitochondria are normally known as the power source of the cells. However, they are way more than that. We can even consider them as the brain of the cells. Why? Because they choose which cell will be active and which cell they will deactivate. So they are very much in charge of many fundamental processes in biology. They also create cosmic energy, like onto that scale. It's like proportionally to sometimes like the least to a lightning bulb, you know, that is just while you're resting. If you're resting, watching something, that amount of energy you're creating in order to move all this beauty, our beautiful temple or vessel. And now, if we look at the amount of 0 point energy that the mitochondria is creating, 0 point energy is when we talk about gravity, just like an intro, when we talk about gravity and anti-gravity, what allows us to go beyond the magnetic field, which is what we know as gravity, is the 0 point energy. The 0 point energy allows us to go beyond what we know as gravity. So imagine, let's imagine that in analogy to our thoughts, how we are being drained, how we are being brought to all those negative thoughts, is a result of a stronger force pulling us through their magnetic field. So it's like being in such a huge gravitational field helps and supports those harvesting control systems. This is why they don't want 0 point energy to be. This is they don't want anti-gravity devices, mainly because that will disrupt the configuration of most of the harvesting control systems because they use gravity to pull through that magnetic field the energy from humanity. So if your mitochondria, as the brain, as the power sources of your body, are healthy, you don't need to worry about any disease. Any disease. Why? Because they are very much in relation, responsible in the for the production of melatonin, which is not only created by the pineal gland, it's also created by the guts. So that's why also guts are so targeted.
You have said that everything is harmonically entangled to one another, and you say that we could go beyond the magnetic field, which is pulling us and is anchoring us into loops, into time loops that no longer resonate with our highest evolutionary purpose, and that we can learn how to detach ourselves from the gravitational field so that we no longer will be pulled down through that magnetic density. But please explain this. I hope I asked that correctly so that you understand what I mean.
Yes, yes, definitely. You did. And thank you for bringing that up. That that's how I see it. Everything is connected. And this is why I was telling the beginning of the show is like, if you get right the formula, then you can use the same formula for everything. So what would be like in conclusion from all of this, that formula? Continuously creating 0 point energy within you and mastering your singularity, because then you're not pulled by any pole. You are in your own axis, and the implications to that is actually keeping a good health, mental health, intellectual health, biological health, energetic health, like health at every harmony. I prefer to use the word harmony at every level, and is it that complex? If we see how the universe communicates with us, it should be really simple, right? It's like if we follow the steps 1, 2, 3 that the universe shows to us, it should be really simple. So at what point it becomes so complex? And the thing is that the amnesia that you were talking about from the very beginning, if we look at the amnesia and in quantum physics terms, it would be like the lack of generating 0 point energy. Because actually the 0 point energy, when it hits into the boundaries of the space memory network, it creates consciousness. So if we are not connecting with that 0 point energy, which is peace, which is, like stillness, not physically, forcefully, but, like that harmony, then we are actually not being able to connect with the space memory network. Some people call it Akasha. Some people call it the lattice. Some people, however you want to refer to it. But, and another thing, very important thing, is that if we acknowledge that memory, like the amnesia happens, or you forget things, as far as I perceive it, mainly due to three things. The first thing would be because it's not important enough, so it doesn't generate like emotions within you, so then you don't anchor. It's like it fades away. The second, because you blocked it due to the fact that it generated a lot of emotions.
We've talked to a lot of mind control survivors and people that have gone through a lot of terrible things in their lives, and they've blocked their memories.
Exactly. So that type of trauma unleashes a blockage that can be removed, of course. Yet we need to be aware. We shall be aware that there is a block. and that we are the ones that can unlock it, actually. And that memory is not erased. It is compressed through, let's say, like through very specific knots, which this is another whole topic, because the knots literally, like physically, could be generated even at a genetic level. We can call it supercoiled DNA or supercoiled neurons. That it's like a form of compacting into packages very specific pieces of information, or like bonds of information, and at some point they can be unlocked. Like you unknot, you take from the thread that it's meant to, and then it unlocks, it unleashes. So that's the second reason why trauma. And the third one would be because there is a biological dysfunction. Like perhaps your hippocampus is not working properly. So then your connection, or, the levels of pH that you're generating is not connecting enough connection to the space memory network. We know that water itself holds memory of everything. So because it's connected through the protons to the quantum field. So those are the three reasons.
And if I may just jump in, Isha, just
Sure.
briefly, and they put a lot of fluoride and all these chemicals, terrible things in the water, especially in America, but also in Europe. And I mean, that's also really a way to affect people's brain and their mind and their whole system, because everything is water and we need it every day. So it's also a way to an easy way, you can say, to target people, to sort of obstruct or make their water imbalanced, because we are 85% water, right? But also that could also be connected to another kind of memory loss, which is Alzheimer's and dementia, which happens to mostly old people, but it can happen to everybody.
Yes. Yes. And there are very specific parts, regions in the brain, not all, like also chromosomes, of course, but there are very specific parts in the brain, regions in the brain that I have come to, not me discovering it, like me doing the scan, the brain scan, but, discovering the information because it was so buried that there was a Greek neuroscientist that in 1984 he discovered a region in the brain. To be specific, the name is the endorestiform nucleus, and it's located in the midbrain. And it is, of course, the scientific community say it's related to, like movement, function, and like precise movement, like fine motor skills. And however, it is located also only in the humans, and it's just placed in the base of the skull where the input to this matrix is. Non-research has been done after that.
Am I understanding this correctly? Are you suggesting, based on what the scientist said or whatever you have researched, that this specific disability is placed or put into the human brain very specifically, and it doesn't happen to animals or other life forms? I mean, when we're talking about, well, Alzheimer's and dementia and all of that enormous memory loss that will eventually lead to death, right?
Well, I said it because they also related to Alzheimer, that it could be like the dysfunction of it could be related to Alzheimer and so forth, among with many parts, regions of the brain. But I took it because I'm saying that it's more of an implant, that it's related to the anchor of being in this reality, like a biological implant. And as well as the anti-gene, I know that was part of the genetic manipulation for sure. So and again, I'm not saying it's bad at all. I'm just saying it's just part of the process of now uh, meant to be upgraded. It served its part. Thankful for that. Now it's time to move into the next
And
stage.
can you suggest who genetically modified us?
Okay, so when we talk about the Anunnaki, there are different type of Anunnaki. Some of them are from Orion, some of them are nested in Sirius. Normally, when we talk about the Syrians, they are the ones that were helping a lot the humanity, and they continue to help a lot the humanity. Also, some beings from Orion. However, some of them, the last manipulation, at least, and which is the one that I think that you're talking about, like this huge uh, missing link manipulation. So for me, those are related to the ones that mainly created religion and that actually talk about themselves as God, the creator, because you can even see that in the Bible when it says that God took one rib from Adam and gave it to Eve. He's not talking about ribs, he's talking about chromosomes. Because if we're saying that there are 12 ribs in one side, that there are 12 ribs in one side and 12 ribs in the other side, then are 24. You take one, then it's 23, as the 23 chromosomes that were 24 in the beginning, and that the second chromosome was fusioned. And to reach that level of fusion, this is another aspect that I remember. You cannot do that on Earth. You need to do that in outer space due to the gravitational field. And I'm not saying this just because I do remember it. I have been doing research, and one of the things that I did remember in Egypt was the use of gamma energy to actually fusion that chromosome, because it's proportional, that level of high ionization, to actually fusion something at that level. But the anti-gravitational field or magnetic field as the Earth presents wouldn't allow that level of precision. So most of the manipulations were done in outer space. So
It was
yeah,
not done here on Earth. It was not done during some of the ancient civilizations here on Earth. During the Atlantean times, Atlantis and Lemuria. Some researchers talk about that. You say it was done in another planetary system, and then that this version of humans were brought here.
well, everything is possible. I do know that a lot of humans were taken, like Enoch. That was not a normal human. He was actually already, like showing a different construction of DNA, but like in that process of evolution. But what I'm saying is that they would have stations. They have stations. So they access to those stations, like even the moon, to do those modifications. Then they bring all the results, and then they nest it here in planet Earth.
You've talked about the connection between the primordial field, the original matrix, and this simulation of our world and the matrix now. So please explain what the original matrix or the primordial field was and what this simulation is. Perhaps a fake matrix or something. Why did that take place? Who created that? Who put it here? And why are we part of this simulation? I think this also relates a little bit to the version of humans that we are here and how we were genetically modified. And what is this field actually? What is this matrix? So it's not the real original matrix, or what, Isha?
Well, according to my memories, and again, how I experience it, is that every planet, as us, as a mirror to us, they have different levels of consciousness, different levels of density, energy density, or they inhabit in different dimensions. So planet Earth was living and being experienced from a fifth density already when they came here. However, and that creates a matrix. Like for like just to be precise, matrix. When I talk about the word matrix in Latin, matrix is uterus, so womb. So any womb of creation is a matrix. So any reality could be a matrix. There are matrices, there are submatrices, there are, in this case, what I call primordial matrix, which is the original matrix that the Earth, planet Earth, consciousness Gaia, Sophia, Terra, Urantia, many ways to address to it, depending on the stage. And so this consciousness had its fifth density mainly embedded, in its existence at that moment when a lot of beings started to come, like for a while, because also I will address first to your question, otherwise I will go into another topic. But anyway, so then that matrix, that's what I refer to as the primordial matrix, that fifth density consciousness that the Earth was experiencing. But that fifth density is also very much connected to the seventh density and to the ninth density, because unfortunately, when at the Atlantean times, when we were experiencing all this need to go into the verge of technology, then there were 12 Merkabahs, inorganic Merkabahs, let's say replica Merkabahs of the created as a mirror of the Earth's Merkaba. As we know, everything has a Merkaba, which is to just break it down, like really simple, it's the light body, the light vehicle. It's the cube there unfolded into light. That matrix, that reality open up into the interconnectivity to the wholeness. So then when they created those 12 Merkabahs, they routed them and created 12 stargates as well. And those 12 main stargates, because there are many stargates, but 12 main stargates. And those 12 main stargates were connected or are connected to 12 main wormholes in the Earth that connect to inner Earth, to the Earth's core, to that black hole that is in the center. And again, black hole, because I really need to clarify this, as it has now recently been acknowledged by the scientific community that the sun itself has a black hole in the center, then you might ask yourself, but wait, wouldn't the black hole suck the sun itself? And the thing is that there are different levels of black holes. There are these primordial black holes that are these massive forces, cosmic forces of creation that absorbs things. And there are other ones that are quite stable. By their event horizon, they are quite stable due to the levels of plasma that they have. So in this case of the Earth, if you measure the magnetic density field of the Earth's surface, is proportional to have a black hole at the center. And this is spoken about in ancient texts. This is shown in ancient depictions. When they show an eye is a black hole, because if you see our black hole, if you see our eye, it really, in the iris, has a hole. And what is the the pupil? And what is the pupil? It's a black body. So it is proportional at different scales. This will, as always say, in the upcoming years or before, will be officially scientifically approved that the Earth has a black hole. A lot of people relate it to the hollow Earth.
Do you still acknowledge the idea of inner Earth civilizations and Agatha?
Definitely. Definitely.
It's also great and interesting topic. So that has nothing to do with there being a black hole or an inner Earth sun inside of the the Earth, as some researchers and, well, many people talk about, right? So, I mean, so we were talking about this matrix, and it had been a primordial or an original version of Earth or a version of this matrix, and now it is like a fake simulation. Why did we end up here? That's not very nice of whoever put us here, is it?
Well, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's another whole topic. But the
Can be
thing
a
is,
little, it can be a rough ride occasionally, can't it?
but it has its peaks, like encounters, magnificent encounters, so it makes it
It
so
makes
bread.
it all worthwhile.
Yeah, exactly. So, so when they activated this Merkabahs, in order, what was the purpose of creating these Merkabahs and stargates? To actually help Earth to reach a higher consciousness, a seventh density consciousness, because a planet that has a seventh density consciousness is capable to become a mothership. This is why there are also many theories that the planet Earth was in other solar systems before reaching this solar system, or that planets are moved all of a sudden, because when we see the ancient depictions of the order in between planets, we will see that Saturn was like the sun, huge, and there are only five. So then you say, a lot of the mainstream medias or scientific communities say, yeah, because they wouldn't have access to the other planets. They were, like very primitive. And then you ask yourself, but how did they know about the other ones? They wouldn't know about any other planet.
So, and certainly they did see Saturn as their sun, and there's the temple of Saturn also in Rome, in ancient Rome, and also everything is Saturn symbolism, and Saturn as the prohibitor, and Cronus, and Saturn, Satan, Santa, and that whole realm as well. That's keeping us sort of keeping our awareness
Yes,
down.
yes. So then they accelerated the Merkabahs, they turned them on. So you can imagine all these altern engines helping the central energetic engine of the Earth. But what happened? They blew it off. So, what was actually coming as positive energies throughout the Earth through those stargates became portals, actually bringing a lot of density. Those archons, entities, like very low frequency entities, all of those started to came. And now we know them as the 12 vial triangles, like the Bermuda's Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle, other was located in Afghanistan, other is located in Canary Island. Like all of those were precisely where the Merkabahs, the alternate Merkabahs, were put in the beginning. So what created that was a fissure in the matrix, in the Earth's matrix. Imagine that you're accelerating so much that then you start to pull apart, and then it fissures. So then, holographically speaking, as they have access to that technology, then they used what even we could consider as a black goo, to actually weave again the threads of that matrix, which started to create an outer matrix, which is that inorganic matrix. And the inorganic matrix progressively started to become stronger and stronger, because we also have like very light and enlightened stages of evolution in Earth after Atlantis. We have what people is calling now as Tartaria. Well, not now, but we have the connection. We have other facets of evolution that actually were quite enlightened after Atlantis. But then that inorganic matrix started to become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, to take over the other part of the primordial matrix. And the primordial matrix was also going into a stage of regeneration. It's like more than black wool, let's say nanotechnology. Nanotechnology being used to actually like suture those aspects as if it was a tissue, because the quantum field is as a tissue, like.
So who were they who did this? Were they, I mean, they were an alien race or alien races, part of the Galactic Federation, or was it a universal power, a godlike entity, or a satanic-like entity, a dark one? Or who created this simulation of the Matrix, you think?
Oh, this is such a very interesting, very powerful question, as all of them. Yet this leads to very deep topics. So for me, how as far as I remember, the thing is that when there are beings, ET races, that actually are architects of matrices. They construct matrices through frequency, or they construct matrices through technology, what we would consider now as AI, or even at some point sentient AI. So the thing is that we know that regardless how impulsive a race can be, they cannot fully get away with it, like break rule after rule after rule. At least they need to take care of not doing a huge infliction that higher councils would say, hey, stop. So they really try to stay in line. Like, for instance, you shall share all the information that you know. Otherwise, you enter into incoherence. So what did decoherence? So what do? They share all the information, but they put it out so evident that it comes as science fiction, as a fiction. But they are sharing the information. So that's a way of breaking, not breaking rules. So in this case of the Matrix, it's like, okay, they allowed some specific architects through frequency to put that primordial part of the matrix into a dormant state, although not fully dormant, because of course it's very awake, but just so that it would continue regenerating. This is why in this reality, even though it is a hologram and it is a simulation, there are aspects of it that are quite spiritual and primordial, as what? The mountains, the crystals. And actually, we are AI for the crystals. We could say, why? We could be like a representation because we're a hologram. We are that not fully transmitted, or not purely not pure transmission, until we actually start to remove all those aspects. But that's another topic. But so this is why it's not all false. And these are the aspects that those races kept intact. And then the other factions, actually, they came to use AI. They are also known as architects, but they use that architecture power coming from the sixth density. Whereas the other architects, or found it's more architects, they create it from the ninth dimension. They create matrices, they create universe from the ninth dimension. The other ones are trying to replicate that through AI. So
And those species you talk about, are they reptilians or insectoids, or are they other species, would you say?
as far as I remember, again, the reptilians don't have
When you say
that
remember, we
level
must have
of.
just briefly, Isha. When you say remember, just for the audience, this is like an innate knowing. It's something you download from wherever in.
Yes, and if we refer to the Akasha as the space memory network, memory, everything is information. And therefore, and this is something beautiful about time, because that makes me very passionate. It's another thing that makes me very passionate. But when you talk about the timelines, or, like the time frames, whether if it's past, present, or future, memory is not only related to what we linearly consider as future, as past. It's also related to future. It's also related to present, to the infinite field of probabilities. So when I say I remember, is that I'm tuning into the memory of the space memory network of that field. And
The Akashic records.
yes, yes, yes. Perhaps you will run into people that tells you that the Akasha is not the same as the space memory network because the space memory network is more vast, and Akashic records just comprehend onto a very specific portion of information. But I relate it just that just that it's an easy way to relate it. Those universal records where all the information of the universe, multiverse, and omniverse is suspended into timelines, creating realities.
The alien races, you think, that are the architects behind this fake or simulated version of this matrix. What do you think? Who do you think they are? What do you remember in terms of your space memory bank there?
Well, there are different types of reptilians. There are reptilians that go like very basic into hijacking or reverse engineering some of the technology. And yet then we have more archaic beings that actually it's a very interesting way of putting it, because how I see them as these architects, they can actually mostly even relate in a non-physical form. They can
So
use.
they're not necessarily physical, they're not extraterrestrial in that way, they're more interdimensional, like the archons or something like that, that's not, have physical density.
Yes, because in order to create that level of construction, you know, um, I'm not saying that it doesn't go in different layers, because I know that there are many things anchored actually in different points in other planets that are actually continuously nourishing, like that shield or that dome of that continue to projects this holographic creation. That's one aspect, that's one side of it. But actually, they tried to reverse engineer the technology from the architects that respond to these etheric bodies. The ones that are using frequency and so forth, they have those energetic bodies, and because they are already coming from a ninth density and different different shades of this ninth density. But when it comes to these creators of that matrix, as I was saying, we're talking about the sixth density. So the sixth density is mainly not cloning. It would be reversing engineering everything from the ninth density, but putting it into a finite form or from a finite source, and believing that you're the infinite source. So therefore, you're the creator, you're doing this and so forth. So anyway, these beings that created this reality are very much related to the ones that have hijacked the Orion's Nebula. The Orion's Nebula is one of the most important points in, at least for us. We can see that shown in many ancient texts. And because it's Osiris Phallus that was taken away by Set, that represents the program, the matrix, so that's why it's unfertile. That's why it cannot reproduce, because it's representing the AI, the program. And to some extent, it's very, it's a lot to
We
just to
want to get
summarize.
into that definitely in our part two. Absolutely. Also about AI and the whole construct of that. and your excavations and your archaeological, the ancient artifacts that you've been finding, which is so fascinating as well, and so much more that is so incredible. But just to sum that up, how can you do that, and also just briefly give what you consider to be the best message for people watching right now? And we will be doing part two very soon because we have so much more to uncover and to talk about.
Sure. Sure. Just to finish with the important question that you asked me about those beings that created this matrix. So then we have the Orion's Nebula, and there is a group, an alliance of different races. And those different races are actually using it's a nebula network system in between the nebulas. So they're acting as plasma tunnels that interconnect with very high power. So as Orion's is the gateway to Earth, then that's why they care about Earth. Otherwise, they wouldn't care. But the thing is that due to some of the races that actually compose that alliance, is that they say, okay, well, you can do it, and then they used races like the very same reptilians, but not the ones that are, and at first hand provoking many other things in this reality. I'm talking about way archaic types of that were in the beginning that they fall for the power, just to summarize, because that's also another topic. But yeah, so that's why they accepted, to have that influence on Earth, because Orion's is the gateway to Earth, and there are very specific interests that some of the races that form part of that council, that they have interests on Earth. So then they allowed that, but again, only through an alliance in between architects from frequency, from ninth density, intervening as well, so that plot of 6 and 9 being transcended. Because if you see, the 6 and the 9 are the exact same numbers. You put them together, they create the Vesica Pisces. So that level of understanding, of comprehension of what the 6th density is and the 9th density is, and why once they come together, we will actually reach out that convergence and unity consciousness. Then we will know it's not about this race, or this, it's about us. It's important to know, yes, super important to know. Now that we know, it's about what we are doing with the information here and now, whether expanding or imprisoning ourselves through it. So that would be part of the message, is, in order to reach and sustain the truth, because we can reach truth at many moments in our life. We can reach love at many moments in our life. Yet how do we get to sustain those fundamental forces within, and then create a new earth, a new reality? And in order to sustain them, it is that process of knowing thyself, knowing ourselves, because it's a unique process. It's a unique process. And when we truly understand how unique we are, then we will stop fighting over space, over lands, because we will be so satisfied with what we are, then we will occupy our space and start creating in resonance, in unity, because we are not here just to experience a human body. We are here to upgrade our human body while we experience it. And we can only upgrade it with the power of love, source love, and the power of truth.
Absolutely. That's such a beautiful message, and it's so true, and it's absolutely wonderful. We're going to talk more about how we can activate all of that love frequency and how we can change our world through energy. And you talk about plasma body activation, and we have so much more to talk about. Also, you discovering ancient artifacts connected to the alien presence on planet Earth and archaeology. But for now, it's been absolutely wonderful. We've so enjoyed it. It's been so great to have you on the show. And I want to thank you so much, Isha, for being on Age of Truth TV. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you so much for the invitation. I absolutely, it goes beyond words. The beauty that I see in you at every level, the ethics that you embody towards your path, and how important it is. So thank you for everything that you are doing. You are absolutely amazing. And I will be more than happy to be here. And thank you so much at every level.
Thank you so much. That means so much, especially coming from you. So beautiful, so wonderful, and such a light being. And it's such a pleasure and honor to have you on. And it's great to now be your, what I will consider a close friend. So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you very soon, Isha. Thank you. And also from Lauge.
Thank you. Thank you, Lauge. Thank you. Thank you both. I truly love you guys.
I love you. We love you very, very much.
For me, you're, yeah, super, super extra, uniquely special for me.
Thank you.
I love you.
Wonderful. Mwah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to Isha, and thanks to all of you for watching Age of Truth TV. You can support us by clicking onto our website, ageoftruth.tv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website, ageoftruth.tv as well. Please also subscribe to our alternative channels on BitChute and Brighteon. Your support is greatly appreciated and very needed. And on behalf of the Age of Truth TV team, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon.